welcome back to Farming Simulator and a kind of a tutorial video. I guess this was inspired by a comment by Nathaniel on my £10 million debt challenge series to do with sheep and productions and turning wool into fabric. And that got me thinking about how good is it to use productions to take the wool that you get from your sheep and turn it into fabric and then perhaps ultimately clothes. Are the productions fast enough? So can they support a decent size flock of sheep, and does it give you a lot more money? And also, does it counter the fact that with Maize Plus it's really hard to make money from sheep? So does using the production counter that? So sadly, we have some PowerPoint, or sad or not, depends if you like that kind of thing or not. So I'm going to jump out to that in a second. First, I'm going to say thank you to the patrons and the YouTube channel members for supporting the channel. Appreciate you guys. It is the support that comes through that kind of thing that lets me help grow the channel and spend well, not really. I was going to spend a bit more time doing stuff like this, but it doesn't at the moment. So anyway, thanks guys for supporting the channel, and let's jump out to PowerPoint. So yeah, the question is it worth using the spinnery and the tailors to take the wool from your sheep and turn them into a product? Now, not everyone is interested in productions, so you might not care about this, but if you want to maximize the return, quite often is the case in FS, you do need to take the option of using a production, and I am using it on my £10 million debt challenge let's play. So I wanted to understand how much it was going to offset the cost of buying the productions, because that's kind of an important question. So is it worth using the tailors and the spinnery? Does the increased value from those products offset the cost of buying the productions? And how many sheep can the productions support? And I'm going to look at two productions here. There'll be a link below for the modded one. I'm going to consider the two base game ones, and then there is a custom spinnery production, I think it's called, and that does the whole process or lets you do the whole process in one building. It does cost a bit more, but it's also quite a bit faster. So let's dive into some of the details. So some of you may be familiar with this. I wasn't particularly, so I went through it. So for the base game, the spinnery takes 2 liters of wool and it produces a liter of fabric. And then the tailors takes 2 liters of fabric to produce a liter of clothes. So thinking about that, 1 liter of wool produces 1/4 of a liter of clothes. You with me? Okay. So then looking at the custom production spinnery, the water fabric is the same. So 2 liters of wool produces 1 liter of fabric, but then 5 liters of fabric produces 4 liters of clothes. So what that means is that the rather than it being a 50% ratio in the tailors, you're getting 80%. So what that means is that for every liter of wool that you put in, you get 0.4 liters of clothes rather than 0.25 liters of clothes. So to work that through, to get the full process through, and do it in nice easy numbers, if you put 10 liters of wool into the custom production spinnery, you'd get 5 liters of fabric out. That 5 liters of fabric would give you 4 liters of clothes. So that would be 10 liters of wool gives you 4 liters of clothes, or 1 liter of wool gives you 0.4 liters of clothes. So I had a moment where I doubted myself. I did the spreadsheet for this quite late. Well, not quite late, after a long day at work yesterday, and so I was just doubting myself for a moment, but I'm pretty sure that that is right. So what happens with the cost? So I've done everything on normal difficulty, hard difficulty, and easy difficulty. These numbers will scale by the usual amounts, but I tend to play on normal difficulty quite a lot, so that's what I've used. So wool, I found the best price that I looked at on the map that I checked, which was later on, was about 2,180 for 1,000 liters. Fabric jumps up to nearly 7,000 for 1,000 liters, and clothes is 18,600 for 1,000 liters. I just want to say that there's a lot of rounding in these numbers just to make them easier to read. So if you go away and do the calculations, you might find that the actual numbers are slightly different. Rather than copying the exact numbers to, you know, many significant places and decimal places into the spreadsheet, I've just done it in kind of big handfuls to give you a feel, because that is enough, I think, for this. So you may find that you get different prices on different things, but this should give you an idea as to whether it is worth it or not. So if you combine the increase in sale price and the amount that you get, if you use the base game productions, then if you convert it to fabric, you're going to get about 60% more money out of selling it. So you'll turn your I'll show you some examples in a moment. You'll turn your wool into fabric, you'll get half as much fabric, but it's worth so much more that you get about 60% more. And then with clothes, you get about 110% more again. So that's comparing selling wool to selling clothes. You get about 110% more. That's using the base game ones. If you use the custom spinnery, again, there's a link for that below. It's off of Mod Hub. The fabric is the same, so the fabric you still get 60% more, but because the clothes ratio is so much more generous, so rather than only getting 50%, you get 80%. Actually, you get 240% more for selling the selling clothes rather than selling wool. So it really does pay off really well. So just to give you some examples, I went through and worked out that the base game production can process about 69,000 litres of wool a year, and that's the equivalent of about 137 sheep, which is not a bad amount, actually. I was quite surprised that the production could cope with quite so much. If you just sold the wool at the best point, that would make you about £150,000. If you turned the wool into fabric, you'd make about £240,000. So you're making about an extra £90,000 in the year. And that production would cost you about £60,000 if you just brought the spinnery. So first year you're going to make more, and then future years you're going to make a lot more. If you go the next step and turn that into clothes, your 69,000 litres of wool becomes £320,000 worth of clothes. And you're spending about £160,000 using the base game productions, but you're getting, I think it's just doing the maths, £170,000 more. So you make a little bit more in the first year and then a lot more in future years. So in the first year, with a relatively small, 130 sheep is not a lot of sheep in Farm Sim. And in the first year, you can cover the cost of setting up the production and make a bit of profit. And then in future years, you're making a lot more money. If you have the same number of sheep and you use the custom one, you're going to make even more because of that really favorable ratio for the fabric to the clothing. You're going to turn your £150,000 worth of wool into over £500,000 worth of clothes, and that custom production costs a little bit less than buying the two separate ones. It's £150,000. So you're making about £214,000 more after the cost of buying the production. So that's definitely a good option. That's the option that I've taken on my £10 million debt challenge. I have that custom production. It can process a lot more, actually. So if we jump ahead, so the custom production can support over 1,000 adult sheep a year. Over 1,100. There's slightly more than 1,100. So I'm rounding the numbers a lot on here just to make them easier to deal with. That gives you about 576,000 litres of wool a year. If you just sell the wool, you're looking at about £1.25 million. If you turn it into fabric, you're looking at about £2 million. If you turn that into clothes, you're looking at about 4.25, £4,275,000 from selling the clothes. Now, 1,000 sheep is a pretty big sheep farm in my mind, but yeah, you're going to be making a lot of money with that. So the kind of, and I don't think I put the numbers in here. From what I remember, the increase in value is about 3.5 times to go from wool to clothes. So definitely worth doing. What about Maize Plus? So if you're a fan of the channel, you'll know that I did a bunch of videos with looking at Maize Plus and can you make money from different animals with Maize Plus. And sheep were one that was particularly bad. You were really dependent on, and like in real life, actually, you were really dependent on selling the lambs to make money. The sheep took a long time to break even. So the blue line on here is using the farm supply pack, which is one of my favorite mods for feeding animals sometimes when you're getting started. They're buying all the food from the farm supply pack to feed the sheep. And I think it was using some bales from Maize Plus as well. Yeah. Versus just selling the wool. And you can see that it takes 33 months pretty much to start breaking even if we just buy in the food and sell the wool. And that's because with Maize Plus and the animal food additions, the sheep eat a lot more. Now, if you take that wool and put it through the custom spinnery production, suddenly you are much more profitable. And this is for one sheep. This is for one sheep, I should say. I don't take account of the cost of buying the production. That was quite hard to factor in, and I just couldn't work out how to do it last night. So you'll need to account for that. But just to look, the difference is astonishing, and that is because you're getting 3.4, 3.5 times the value for the outputs, and the food cost is staying the same. So you're breaking even at 10 months suddenly, apart from the cost of setup. You're breaking even at 10 months, and you're making good money at that point. So if you use, and it's kind of a weird one because I think a lot of people that use Maize Plus probably aren't as into productions, but if you're using Maize Plus and you want to make sheep more profitable, one of the options, along with using grazing, because that really does help as well, is put the output through a production. If you turn it into fabric, you're going to be making more. Your line is going to be closer to the blue line, but definitely in the positive. I think if you really want to make money, get a tailor's or get the custom production that does it all in one hit, and you're going to make a fair bit more cash. But let's jump back out to the game and do a bit of a wrap up. So yeah, I think that's pretty clear that using the different productions, so I've actually got them here. We didn't really talk about them before. So these are the two base game ones. I've had the game open for a while in the background, that's why it's saving. So if we go in the base game one, the base game spinnery, you put in 2 wool, you get 1 fabric out. And then for the tailors, you put in 2 fabric, you get 1 clothes out. And then with the production, the spinneries can handle cotton as well. I wasn't really interested in that. But for the custom production spinnery, again, 2 wool in, 1 fabric out. And then for the clothes, you put 5 fabric in and you get 4 clothes out. There are some others as well. These may be more efficient. I haven't looked at them yet, but for just sheep, that's what you get, and you get a lot of cycles with these as well. So those are the productions, and yeah, thank you to Nathaniel for this suggestion to have a look at this. I think this is going to really help me out if you're doing sheep, particularly if you're going big on sheep. Then I would definitely have a look at this guy, which is the custom one, to really maximize your returns, especially with Maize Plus. So yeah, I hope you found that interesting. If you did, click the like button, comments, questions or suggestions below. And the nice thing about this one is although I mentioned Maize Plus, this is applicable to all platforms. I didn't mention that at the start. I probably should, because I'm pretty sure that production is an all platforms production, because it's just a production. So yeah, if you're on console, you can use this as well. And if you watched this far and you're not already, think about subscribing and turning on notifications, and I will see you next time on Farming Simulator.